Whether you're dreaming of becoming a lead teacher, stepping into your first director role, or leading a thriving childcare program of your own, you don't have to figure it out alone. Welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair, where leadership coach, speaker, co-author, and multi-center owner Erica Sakosio shares the wisdom she's gained from decades of leading successful early childhood programs and developing future leaders. Each episode is designed to help you use your voice, lead with confidence, build a positive workplace culture, and become the kind of leader your team is excited to follow. Expect real talk, big laughs, bold leadership truth, practical strategies, and the encouragement to believe in yourself every step of the way. Because when Erica teaches leadership, she's teaching what she's lived. The Childcare Director's Chair is proudly sponsored by Watch Me Grow, supporting childcare leaders with innovative technology that helps build stronger programs and stronger family connections. Together, they believe leadership isn't a title, it's an action. Pull up your chair, future leader. Here's Erica Sakosio.
Hey guys, welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Sakosio, and I'd love to say that I'm so happy you're here. Whether you're joining me on your morning commute, maybe you're listening during your lunch break, or maybe you're wrapping up after another long day at the center. I'm so grateful you're here. And this week, we're kicking off a brand new series called Leadership Myths That Are Holding You Back. Not leadership tips, and not 5 things you should do differently. This week, I want to challenge the stories that we have been telling ourselves about leadership. You know, the stories that may have been holding us back for years. Because sometimes transformation doesn't happen when we learn something new. Sometimes it happens when we finally let go of something we've always believed to be true. And today we're starting with one of the biggest myths in leadership, and that is great leaders are born. I mean, have you ever heard someone say, she's just a natural leader? Or he's always had leadership in him? Maybe you've even looked at another director or another owner, another speaker, another coach and thought, I could never do that. They just have something I don't. Or maybe your story's completely different. Maybe people have been telling you your entire life you've always been a natural leader. If that's your story, I want to talk to you today too. Because I don't think we've been asking the right questions. I think the question isn't, are great leaders born? I think the better question is, what are you doing with leadership that you have been given? Because whether leadership came naturally to you, or whether you have had to build every ounce of confidence you have, potential just has never been enough. Leadership is developed every single day. You know, when I look over my life, I can honestly say leadership was always a part of who I was. I wasn't the loudest in the room, but sometimes I was. I certainly am now. But I naturally organized people. I would speak up. I took responsibility. I wanted to solve problems. And I wanted things to be better. Looking back now, I can see that those were the seeds of leadership, and they were always there. People noticed them before I even understood what leadership really was. But here's what I know now that I didn't know then. Being born a leader is in that potential is not the same thing as becoming a great leader. You know, potential is simply an invitation. Character is developed. Wisdom is developed. Influence also developed. Trust is developed. Communication definitely developed. Those things don't magically appear because someone called you a leader. You know, when people see me today and they see the podcast and they see the conferences and the schools and maybe they've had a chance to hear me speak on a stage, they might see books or the degrees or the John Maxwell certification, me coaching, whatever it is. What they don't always see is 27 years that came before all of that. I was a Head Start kid. I earned my GED before I ever earned a college degree. And I started as a teaching assistant because I loved children. I became a teacher, then a director, a vice president, then an owner, then a coach, And none of those opportunities happened because I woke up one morning as a finished leader. They happened because I kept saying yes to growth. And every promotion required a different version of me. The Erica who could lead one classroom couldn't lead an entire center. And the Erica who could lead one center couldn't lead multiple schools. And the Erica who could run schools couldn't automatically stand on stages. Each season deemed that I grow into someone new. And that's the part of this that people don't always see. I think we've confused leadership with personality. We assume that the outgoing person is the leader. And we assume that the confident speaker is the leader. And we assume that the person with the title is the leader. But none of those things automatically create influence. I've met quiet teachers who could transform an entire team because people trusted them. And I've met charismatic leaders who couldn't keep staff for 6 months. I met assistant teachers who changed the culture of a classroom without ever being a director. So again, leadership isn't a personality. Leadership is influence. Leadership is responsibility. Leadership is stewardship. Now, here's why I think we've gotten it wrong. The myth isn't that some people may have natural leadership tendencies. I think some people do. The myth is believing that's enough. Natural ability without intentional growth eventually reaches a ceiling. John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. Your leadership ability determines your level of effectiveness. In other words, your organization will eventually rise or stop rising to the level of your leadership. So think about that. If I stop growing, eventually my school stops growing. If I stop learning, eventually my team stops learning. And if I stop stretching myself, eventually my organization will feel that ceiling too. So leadership isn't just personal anymore. It affects every child, every teacher, every family, every classroom. And that's why your growth matters so much. So I want to ask you something, not as a podcast host, not as a coach, as a leader, one leader to another. Who are you becoming? Not who were you born to be, not what personality type you have, and not what title sits on your office door, but who are you becoming? Because somewhere along the line, we stopped asking that question. Instead, we ask, am I doing enough? Am I good enough to people like me? Those questions, honey, they're going to keep you stuck. The better question is, am I growing? Because if you're growing, your influence grows. If your influence grows, your team grows. And if your team grows, children benefit. And that's why leadership matters. Not because of us, but because of who we serve. So here's what I'd like to challenge you with today. Write down 3 leadership strengths that you have always had and they come natural to you. Maybe you're great at encouraging people. Maybe you're organized. Maybe people just naturally trust you. Celebrate those. God gave you those gifts. Now, write down 3 leadership skills you still need to develop. Is it listening? Is it delegation? Is it patience or conflict? Maybe it's vision. For some of you, it might be humility. Maybe it's being a coach to another director or another teacher in your program. Because your greatest impact won't come from the gifts that you were born with. They'll come from the skills you were willing to build. So I'm going to leave you with this. Maybe you've always been a leader. Or maybe you're just discovering your influence. But either way, leadership is a gift. Growth is a choice. And potential may open that door, but intentional growth determines how far you'll walk through it. So stop asking yourself, was I born to lead? Instead, ask, what am I doing today to become the leader my team will need tomorrow? Because great leaders aren't defined by how they start. They'll be remembered for how intentionally they grow. So if today's conversation challenged you, I want to invite you to keep growing with us. Every Wednesday evening inside the ECE Trailblazer Leadership Community, we dive deeper into conversations just like this one. And we don't just talk about leadership, we practice it. We challenge one another. We ask each other hard questions. We share real experiences and commit to becoming better leaders together. One of my favorite John Maxwell quotes is, "One is too small of a number to achieve greatness." Leadership was never meant to be a solo journey. So if you're ready to invest in yourself so you can better serve your team, your families, and your children who are counting on you, I would love to welcome you into our community. We're not building followers, we're multiplying leaders. And because one leader grows, one team changes, and when one team changes, classrooms change. When classrooms change, children's lives change. And that's the ripple effect of intentional leadership. So thank you for spending part of your day with me here at the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. Until next time, keep leading with courage, keep growing with purpose, and let's continue multiplying leaders, one conversation, one classroom, and one community at a time.
Before you go, ask yourself, what's one leadership lesson you'll put into action this week? Then share one takeaway with your leadership team, because Erica believes that great leaders don't just grow themselves, they help others grow too. Ready to keep growing? Join Erica inside the ECE Trailblazers Leadership Membership at childcaredirectorschair.com. Proudly sponsored by Watch Me Grow. Together, we believe leadership isn't a title, it's an action. And we'll save your chair for next time.